Okay, so I'm so excited. This one, I just found that making collage papers way in advance is really a great fun activity, and it's really gets really he frees you up, but also it prepares you. You get lots of papers that you can use for collage, art journals, greeting cards, whatever you want to do things with. We're going to be doing collages next week, so I thought it'd be fun to do some layering with papers. And I'm going to use some tissue papers today and some rice papers. Use whatever papers you have. And I think I mentioned this in the instruction. This is Daddy Van's unscented beeswax furniture polish. You could use anything like even shoe polish, clear shoe polish if you have, or even stained shoe polish. Just something to seal some of the papers to create a translucent tracing paper effect. So I'll just show you kind of the process here, and what you'll need is, this is the final step, just so you know, you don't have to do it, but I'll show that to you in a little bit. So I have this stuff and the Daddy Vans, and then I also have tissue paper. So these are my finished ones I'm kind of working on. So, but I have kind of a mixture of rice paper that's sort of, and it's thin paper. I've got these are my rice papers, and I also have some deli papers and tissue papers. This is a tissue it's called, it's actually from Blick, and I'm going to show you the actual, if you ever wanted to get into tissue papers, this is called Blick tissue paper non-bleeding. It's really nice because some of the tissue papers you might buy, at Walmart or something like that, they don't have as much strength as this has some strength, and it's non-bleeding. I don't know what that means, but we'll see what that means. I think that when you're writing on it, it shouldn't bleed because it's made really well. So I bought the black as well. They actually have it in black, and I thought it'd be fun to try. So I've got those, and I've got some deli papers that I've already done things on. Like, these are my backing papers that have little bits of paints and stuff on it, and I don't like throwing this stuff away because eventually it can be used. Like here, I already see some pretty nice looking things here. But I'll work on these as well. And I did some jelly printing on my tissue paper a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, these aren't really enough. It's the first layer, so I just wanted to show you what you can do with layers after you've painted one or done one layer. So the other thing I'm going to work on is, or not work on. So that's what we have to work on. It's just some papers. So whatever you've got, tissue papers, or even if you have some paper that you have some scraps, like I found these origami paper scraps that were printed, and I thought I would like to do some layering of some stuff on this because I love the color and the background, but I want to do some stuff. So I'm going to just kind of pull those out and do things on that too. I've got some wax paper here, but whatever you have to just put your paints on. If you have some sponges, you can use makeup sponges. You can, like, here's an old makeup sponge. These are really nice. These little foam applicators, you can use a stencil brush, whatever you have that you want to paint with, or even a bristle brush would work. I also have some little foam stamps I'm going to play with. If you have rubber stamps, stencils, I've got a boatload of stencils. I always had plenty of stencils, so I'm just going to, I've got these, so I'm going to just play with those. Acrylic paint pens, acrylic paints, and I'm going to limit my palette today because I tend to go all over the place. But I've got some paints here. I've got white, and I've got some, and these are my favorite, really inexpensive craft paints from Blick. Matte acrylic. It's matte, which I like because it doesn't leave that shine. But, if you like shiny paint, that's good. You can have any acrylics, but I like these because they're matte. So I have black and white. Those are going to be my main colors. And then I have some brown I thought I'd try. It's a really deep brown. And I thought these were neat. These are the matte colors. Sage blue, celadon. This is an off-white. And I have some copper, iridescent copper. So whatever you've got in your paint stash and whatever your favorite colors are, it's really up to you. I grabbed also some gold. This is a matte gold. And I also have some red because today is Valentine's Day. I want to wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day. It's also my son's birthday, so I always think of my son. He's just turned 45 today. I don't know how a person as young as me could have a son that's 45, but anyway, he's 45. I can't believe it. This is also a color I'm going to use. And then I have some pens. So grab all your goodies, whatever you've got. Acrylic permanent pens or Sharpies. And I just got some of these black and white and gold. And now we're going to get ready to make some marks and have some fun. This is something I just bought and I wanted to share. It's called Thule Art acrylic paint pens. These were really inexpensive. And I've already used a few of them and they come in all these lovely colors. For the price I normally spend for an acrylic paint pen of this size, it's about $2 or $3. This one was, I believe, and I think it was maybe $17, $17.99, and that's 18 pens, so it's under $1 a pen. And these are really nice. So if you really wanted to not spend too much money and you wanted some paint pens, I'd suggest those because they're really nice. And I can send you a link afterwards. I'll look for my Amazon link if you're interested. They are water-based and they're opaque, kind of like, they remind me of the Posca pen. And if you know anything about the Posca pen, they are not cheap. They're really good, but they're not cheap. So, just as an alternative, so you don't have to spend, your food money on art supplies. So I'm going to get started, and the first thing is just to take a plain, I'll start with, let's see, I'm going to start with a plain piece of tissue. Oh, if I can find where I put it. Oh, there it is, right in front of me. It's so see-through, I'll start with, I'm going to put some of my backing paper underneath because I don't want to mess up my table. But also this ends up being a nice little, it ends up, the more paint you get on your tissues or your deli paper, the more you're going to have fun little designs. So I'm just putting those underneath. And I'm going to take this tissue paper, and it's pretty see-through already. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some color. I'm just going to stick this thing on it because it's big and bold. It just covers the whole thing. I might as well. It's a stencil that I have. It's, I think, I'll tell you what it is. It's from Stencil Girl Products. And I don't know who designed it, but it's called Bautista. And it's kind of a nice, fun little stencil. I'm going to do, this time, I'm actually going to just use my stencil brush to do this. Now I'm going to take my stencil brush, and I'm not going to put too much paint on it. I don't want to over saturate, so I kind of dab off the excess. I'm going to go through, and I'm just going to, and I don't have to be perfect because this is going to be layered. We're going to do many layers, and I'm just kind of scrubbing this. Normally I don't scrub, I usually tap. I'm going to kind of look at it and see how it looks. Yeah, it's thick, but it's fine. Because I will be layering. And the reason I'm starting with the dark color is because I'm going to layer over it with lighter colors or maybe some metallics. So I think the dark color is kind of a nice contrast to get started and kind of get some contrast down. Dark and light, dark and light. So this one could take me a while, but this is get your stencils out and try just putting some color down on your tissue. If you're using tissue. If you're using just typing paper, that's fine too, because typing paper, or even scrapbook paper, newsprint, old book pages, whatever you've got in your house, even a phone book pages would be really kind of neat to do this on. Of course, we don't get phone books anymore, but if you do, if you're in an area that gets your phone book still, those make really handy little collage papers that you can just create all kinds of designs, and you have this really wonderful background with people's phone numbers, but they're listed, so it's okay. But they eventually get covered up, so nobody'd have to worry about privacy or anything like that, because those letters will not show after a while when you cover them up. So I'm just trying to get as much coverage as I can, but I don't have to make it all the way covered. And what I like to do sometimes is I take my stencil brush and I try to get the excess paint off of my stencil if I can, because this stencil is just easier to clean if you get as much paint as you can off. So this is tissue paper, so it's much thinner, and I love it already. I'm just going to put this away and I'll get started on another piece. Now I'm going to take this is my deli paper. I'm just going to set that one. Now this is some deli paper that has some color on it already. And I'm going to show you, like, if you have stencil, or if you have stamps, or you want to create something a little more bold. So I'm going to use some of this paint. I'm going to just put it on this. Putting it on to this foam stamp, directly on. I'm going to grab a little more paint, some black here. And what I could do too is just stick it, put it directly into the paint, but I'm just trying to keep it not too much paint. But I'm going to go right into where I'm going to go right here and just to make an impression. And that came out really nice, but it has a nice background. And that's from my adventures before. So that was just, now I've got some stencil, or not stencil, I've got some collage elements. I'm going to go here and do it here. And I think that looks great. And then I think I'll put one more, just try to grab as much paint. I don't want to waste any paint if I can get away with that. And then I'll put that there. Now, another thing is, just while you're working it, when you want to just get rid of some paint, just keep stamping and you get these really nice ghost prints. And you can use those for other things. See how much it holds? And I'll just kind of stamp it all over the place until I am pretty much out of paint. And then when I think I'm out of the paint, then I'll go ahead and put it in the water bath. So still have an impression there. So there, now I can stick it in the bath and it's good to go. I'm just going to let this sit for a while. What I could do too, I've got a little excess paint on my stencil brush, and I don't want to waste that either. So I'm going to do, I found another little, it's a little spiral foam thing. These are from Art Foamies, and I just haven't used these in a while, and I thought I'd grab them. And you could use potatoes. There's like all kinds of things you can use for these, but there it is. So I just wanted to add, since I had some paint left over, and I had some, basically, I had some places I could do this. I thought, I don't want to waste it. So I'm going to put those in the bath, and I'm going to set this aside for a bit. Now this is the reason I'm starting with dark, like I mentioned. So we'll go from dark to light. So I'm going to grab another piece of paper. Let's see what I've got here. I've got this right in, let's see, what I was going to grab here. I'm going to take a piece of this tissue paper. I think I already put wax on it, but we'll see. It might already have wax on it because it looks pretty see-through. Let's see if I can even get any paint through it. I'm not sure if I can. I'm also going to put some of these like scrap papers that I have underneath. I'm just putting some papers underneath here to create, first of all, I'm creating a block, like a mask. And I'm going to put it underneath like this. So I've got my little strips underneath, and I'm going to take some black paint, or I can take the brown. I think I'm going to go for the brown this time. I never used brown, and I thought I'd give it a try. I might not like it, but we'll see. And I'm going to take, this is these little foam dome things. I really like them. I think that they make really nice stencil. Now the brown, I'm not sure I like it, but I'll play with it. I'll decide. Now what's happening is I'm putting this brown over the, oops, that slid through. Those little pieces are kind of being painted, as well as I'm kind of masking off the background. I'm just creating a different look. You'll see what happens when I lift it up. But you could put scraps of torn paper underneath your stencil and on top of your background. You really can just, there's so many things you can do. And I'm getting exercise with my arm big time right now doing this. I think I'm going to put a little black with that, because that brown needs to be darker, I think, even like more of a deeper brown. So I'm just mixing a little black with it, and I think I'll like that a little better than the just straight brown. Kind of like warms up the black, so it's a warm black rather than a brown. And then I can just kind of take my stencil or this foam, and I'm just drag it across the stencil in hopes that I can get a little cleaner, more ink or color going through. I'm going to try to keep that from moving underneath, just kind of holding it. And I'll hold that one. And I'll lift it up and see what it looks like. I'm just gonna pick it up and look at that. There's some nice patterning going on. And I'm gonna leave, I think I'll use that in a minute. So I'm gonna pick this up. So you can see I've now only have it partially done, but I also have some interesting things happening with these strips. So I'm gonna stick those to the side for a second, and I'm gonna put this down. Maybe, well, what I could do is I could put this over the pieces I just did. Just see what happens. You can't really mess up here. Now I'm going to take a lighter color. Normally I would have switched over to take a little bit, just try something. I'm going to try this lighter color. And I'm going to put some of this sage color, it's called. And this time I'll use another foam brush. It's almost like a green. I love this color. It's a really pretty blue-gray, greeny color. It's a nice, it's neutral. I thought it'd be fun to just take these colors and see what happens. And just use the same stencil. If you want, you could use handmade stencils. You don't have to use commercial stencils. But, you know, just kind of make textures and layers. We're not trying to make a picture. We are creating depth with going from dark to light, which I'm kind of jumping ahead because I wanted to just try this color, and I don't think I liked the brown too much, so I'm just kind of getting rid of that a little bit. So I'm just tapping on top, and now I've got, yeah, I like that better. So these colors are kind of, you can see what's happening to the strip here. It's not recognizable anymore as a printed paper. It's just really interesting. It has some interesting texture on it, or an interesting, I'll keep working on that one, but this is looking pretty neat too. I think I'll leave that for now. I'm going to purposefully put some of put this color. I see it needs some light color right there. So I'm just going to lay it down, and I'm going to use my stencil. I'm going to try to use the paint that's on it, because I didn't really want to get new paint out. Oops, I think I did it enough. Let's see. Yeah, I got a little bit of a print there. So I'm just going to leave that alone. I'll put my stencil in the bath. Okay. Now that one's going to just turn, that's the second layer. The first layer was the pink. The second layer was these stencil marks. So now I'm going to show you, let's see. We have to wait for these layers to dry before I do anything on that. So I'm going to go ahead and take with some more rice paper, wherever that is. So here's some rice paper. And it's kind of has a translucency to it. It's a thin rice paper. I'm going to just do this. Take my stencil, and I'm going to put it over. Here's another one I like. I like these big stencils because they kind of cover a lot of space. You know, you don't have to work too hard. The little 6-inch stencils are great, but you have to place them down. This one's a nice one. This one came from Jelly Arts. And I'm going to do this in a dark color. And you'll probably wonder, why would you do that? But I'll show you there is a method to this madness. So I'm going to go in the dark brownish green color. Just going to cover this with a dark color. And it will be light, I'll be able to, I'm going to layer over it with a nice lighter color. So that's kind of where that's going. It's almost this black-brown color. It's really pretty now that I've mixed it with the black. And I don't want my paints to be overly watery or thin. I'm trying to reduce the amount of water on my, in everything, because if you have wet brushes or wet sponges, it's just going to soak into that. It's just going to make kind of a gooey mess. So I'm just trying to keep everything as dry as I can. You don't want to introduce water very much right now. In fact, I don't think I did at all when I was playing with this stuff earlier. Oops, it shifted my stencil. There we go. I'll just try to move it so that it's laying on there sort of like it was. I'm trying to get to the outside of the paper, but I'm shifting. They say, there you go. That's so hard to get it exactly, but I'm just going to give up on that. I'm going to let it be. That looks fine the way it is. plenty of contrast. That's what I was looking for. So I've got this and I'm gonna let that dry. So that's gonna, and I'll show you the next level of that. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just take this stencil because it's here, and I'm gonna do the same. I'm gonna go dark, really dark, like black here. This time I'm just gonna stick with the black and not use brown. Now, if you have small stencils and you just need to move them around, you can just kind of take them and move them around, move it around. Oops. And yeah, like that. And I don't need to go to the edge of the stencil. I'm just going to kind of make a texture like this. So this one, I'm just kind of putting little spots of texture and color, but I'm not trying to fill the whole stencil. And that's another way you could do it. But I'm keeping my brush very dry. There's no, I don't think this would work with inks very well. Yeah, like that. So I've got those two little powerful, that's pretty neat. And then I'll just, right up here, I'll throw in some up here so it's not just right in the middle, and I'll, here, like that, and I'll put a little over here. Like that. Maybe I'll do some over here. Till I hit all of my, I want all of this paint to come out of this, if I can. And a lot, these foam dome things hold a lot of paint. So there, I'm gonna stick that in the bath, and then I'll just put maybe some circular shapes over it. If I can find a circular shape, I know I've got something over here. Oh, I've got some birds. I've got so many shapes. At the same time, I'm gonna put these little things back on because I wanted just to see, I want to get some texture. I found these birds. I thought these were cool. I'll just throw some birds. I don't even know if you'll be able to see them, but maybe a few of them will be seen. Here, just a few. We'll see if those even show up. I'll put them on the strip of paper that's underneath also. And just see what happens. This is just a time to just play. There we go. Yeah, some of those birds are showing up, and I'm pulling that off so I could leave some of the paper underneath. All right, what else do I have in my arsenal? And here's some interesting.
Where'd you get the foam domes again?
These are from scrapbook.com, but okay. Ranger also, I'm not, I think that Ranger makes these little handles, but scrapbook.com, and I'm finding that scrapbook.com is pretty inexpensive. Like they're not overly priced. So, and they're actually out of Arizona, which is interesting, out of the Phoenix area, I think. And so I'm just you can see, I'm just creating some layers or texture. This is my first layer. All right. I'm just having fun with throwing texture around, like that, just here and there. Okay, I think I've got enough on that. Here we go. I can keep going. All right, so I did it, and that little birds, I want to keep them, but some of them are gonna go away. Here, little bird stuck in the corner. So there is a very high contrast thing happening there. So now, and I always put my little domes into the bath as well, because those domes, they can be washed. You don't have to just waste them. They can be washed. So that's a really good thing. So now I think I've done enough of my first layer, and I think that one layer is already dried. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the next layer with a lighter color. So this one's probably dry enough to just go to it. So next layer is going to be a slightly lighter layer, however you want to do your layers. So here, I've got this beautiful, this is actually lettering. This is a Shakespeare stencil. This is from the Crafters Workshop. They have the 6-inch and then they have a 12-inch. I want to show you what I did with the 12-inch earlier. And it's from, I forgot what not Midsummer Night's Dream, but it's from one of the famous Shakespeare plays. And there it is. This is the 12-inch. So it's a bigger lettering. This one is a 6-inch. See how much smaller that is. So, you can get a big one or in a smaller. So this is I love the lettering on that. But I'm going to do the same thing on with this here. I'm just going to take that and I'm going to lay it on top. So I've got the dark color here, and now I've got some light color here. And the color I'm going to try is this kind of this celadon color, just because, and a little bit of white, maybe a little white. Not too much white. I might just not do that. See how it looks. So just going to do the celadon over. I'm just going to tap it over and see how, I want to see how it looks. I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm not worried like, oh, I'm making a beautiful picture and I'm wasting what's underneath, because I'm not attached to what's underneath. I'm just going to see how these layers play out. And these we're going to use next week. So think if you have color themes that you like, your favorite colors, but contrast and light and dark, it's really important to get that. If you can get that through your paint color choices. So let's see what this looks like when we lift it. And it's very more subtle than I thought, but I really like it. I think it's really fun. So I'm going to go ahead and just stick it again over on this side. I like it. It's nice and soft. It's subtle. You can barely read it, but you can see that it's lettering. But the words aren't important. It's just the texture the words are going to give. We got somebody coming in. Lee is coming in. Okay. We'll say hi to Lee. Okay. There we are. Hi, Lee. Nice to see you here. We're just getting right in the middle of this, but we'll stick around and hopefully you'll get something out of it. And we will have the recording. We're recording it, so we're all good.
Thanks.
All right. Glad you're here. So you can see I've got this levels, this fun little texturing going. All right, now that's the second layer. So if I take all these and do a second layer, like this one, I really like just like it is. I'm going to leave the first one I showed you. I'm going to leave it alone because I really like it. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with the Daddy Vans with that. And it's dry, so I can do it. One other thing I usually like to do, I'm just going to I see that I can do that with this. I'm going to do it with this one. Remember, this is the leaves I made. I'll set this aside. This is where I'm going to go in with some color, light color. So I'm going to take, this time I'm going to take some interference color, which is, I'm going to use the interference green if I can find it. There it is. So it's like interference color is really a beautiful color to work with because it's very, very subtle on light colors, but very dramatic on dark colors. So I'm just going to tap, of course, I've got some of that celadon mixed with the interference green. So it's going to change it a little bit, but I didn't want to get a new dome thing. I've got some of this interference going on with the celadon, and I like it. I think it's more subtle. Let's see if I can just grab more of that. I might even throw some interference gold in there. Why not? Let's see. Interference orange. Well, let's try that. I haven't used that in a long time. It's a very pretty color. I love their interference colors. I remember when I first saw those, I don't know, Golden had started coming out with interference colors so many years ago, and I just was like, I was enamored. I was like in love with the colors, and I still am. Okay, so now I'm going to lift this up, and you'll see that the pattern is showing much more on the dark than it was on the light, and that's why, that's why I'm doing this, like starting from dark to light. So I love the way that these, how it changes the leaves underneath. So if you have big, bold stencils with big openings, you can create a new design by just layering over with a small pattern over it like that. So they can see this, I'll show you that. Ooh, pretty. So I'll just make sure I've got all of the leaves covered with something, and I love it, and that's going to be fun. But there's still another layer to do. There we go. I think I've got enough. Whoops, I didn't get this side. I'll get that over here. And then there we go. So now I've got some nice texture and design that's changed. It's changing this very drastically. And if you look, there's this very subtle, the circles are subtle and much more, you know, much more bold on the dark. So that's what makes that fun. So I wanted to see that layering really makes a huge difference. Layering from dark to light, or interference colors, or transparent colors. Here, like this one needs a little something like that. So I'm going to take that one, and I'm going to just stick a stencil. I'm trying to get a big stencil over it just to cover a lot. There, I found a big one. One of Andrew Borlow's stencils. And I like it because it's very, very fun. I'm going to take this, and I'm going to use some I could use white, or I could use something so contrasting, like, why not teal? This is a very opaque color, but it's also very opposite of what, it's a very, I think it might be interesting looking. It's going to create some nice contrast. So I'm just going to do the same thing, dab this color over that. And I'm not going to go in all areas, just going to kind of go around the thing. And you could even put things underneath if you have rubbings. You know, you could put like a rubbing, what are those things called? Rubbing plates, texture plates. You can, you know, things that are around your house, corrugated cardboard, you know, anything to create this texture. And this is going to be, I'm going to just really cover it. It's very overwhelming now, but once I lift the stencil, it should look pretty good. And I see some of my Celadon is still mixed in with it, but I'm trying to get rid of that paint. I'm going to lift it and see if I like it, and if I don't, I can always do another layer. I love it. I think it's fun. And there will be one more layer, and I'll explain what that will be, but I have to wait for that to dry. So that's probably enough to show you the next step. So I'm going to get my stuff. Gotta wipe my hands off, because oh boy, I tell you, things get messy. So I have to get my little wipes and wipe off my hands, because we get messy here. All right, third layer before we do the wax. So I'm not going to do any more painting. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find a paper that has, let's see, this is fairly dry. So I'm going to go ahead and use this one as an example. And it's still I like getting the papers underneath dirty, because those are going to be used for other things. So I'm going to take a pen. I think the gold one would be fun. I've got a metallic gold pen, and I'm just going to start writing. I'm just going to scribble. I'm not even writing, but we did this last week. I think it was last week, we were doing some scribbling over our designs. And this here, as you can see, I love the texture is happening. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but you can even make blobs and dots. You can spatter with your paint. I think spattering would be a fun one, which I'll like to try in a second here. With the splattering, though, you'll need your paint to be thinner, much thinner than like these. And I'm making purposeful blobs by pushing the pen down to give it that kind of blotchy look. So I'm not really writing. I'm not even thinking, because I can't talk and write at the same time. So I'm just scribbling, and I love the scribbly kind of handwriting-ish looking stuff. Here, it's just an opaque super white, and I think it would be fun. And I'm going to do something crazy, because I love doing crazy things. And I've got this little brush, and I haven't used it in a while, but I have a feeling it's going to get messy. So that's okay. But I have this little spattering brush, and I got this at Liquitex. And I think now Tim Holtz picked one up, and he's got one. But I like it because it's got this, crazy, looks like, I don't know, like a broom, except the broom, it's made out of a plastic. So like, I think if you could do this. I'm just going to put this, I'm going to get the ink on that brush. Let's see if I can get this. Come out, ink. It's not coming out. Let's see. Maybe it will now. Okay, there it is. Okay, got lots of ink. So I'm going to pick it up, my brush, and I'm going to see what happens, and it's probably going to go all over. Now, this is an acrylic, so you got to be careful if you're if you don't want your, yeah, that's not happening. Okay, there we go. Yep, now it's happening. Okay, so I'm getting some spattering, but I gotta stand up. Oh, it's good. There we are. I'm standing up and I'm just spattering this paint. Just little subtle spatters. It's more noticeable on the palette. But there it is. So now I got some spatters. And I think that is going to finish that off. I love that. Fun. So these, if you have a toothbrush, you can use a toothbrush too. But there. And I'm hoping I'm not getting on my clothes because this is acrylics. It's not watercolor. All right. So there. That is fun. I like that. And I'm going to do the same thing on this one because this needs it. And then I'll start you and I promise we'll go to the waxing part. That needs something. So I'm going to try the same thing. Oops, not with that. I need the ink. It needs to be thin. I'm going to stick it right onto the brush, just straight on. I'm going to be crazy and see what happens. Okay, standing up. And I notice it's on my camera, so it might be, I think it's getting on the camera. So there, I'm just kind of creating a spatter. And you can do that any way that you want, but it's just fun. All right. And I'm going to let that, whoa, I got it everywhere. Whoo! It's on my, now this also, I'm going to try this on some of this scrap paper. If you want to try something, like to see how it would work, I want to try doing this texture. I'm just going to see if I get a texture. Oh yeah, but it's way too much. So I thought I'd try it and it's just too much. But you can do some interesting, that brush will be interesting to use for other things. I think it makes some interesting texture. So I wanted to see if I could use it for other things, and I know I can. So I like that. Oh, good. So, all right, I'm going to put that away. No more messy. That was a mess. I truly made a mess there. All right. Okay, now I'm going to show you with this waxing. So I'm going to put this stuff, I'm going to move this stuff out of the way, my wet stuff, and let that dry. And now I'm going to let's see, here we go. I think I'll use this piece of paper. Now the piece that I wanted to show you, this is the one I wanted to show you. This is the one I did earlier. It's perfectly dry now. And I'm going to put some wax, I'm going to put some of this Daddy Vans on it. There. So I'm going to take a paper towel, and I'm going to take just take a paper towel. Don't use a rag unless you want to waste your rags, because the wax won't come out and it's not good. I mean, I just use a paper towel just because I don't want to waste. I don't have to wash this. So I've got a good amount of wax, like just about, a little dab of this wax. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it on my paper, going from the center, going out. And what's going to happen, and I'm going to show you just the one side. I'm just going to do 1/2 so you can see the difference. And since we're using acrylics, the paint is not going to go anywhere. It's just going to seal, and will make also this tissue paper is going to be very translucent. So it's going to, like, when you do glue it onto something, you won't see you'll barely see the paper. You'll just see the design. And I'll show you how. Okay, so you put a little bit on like that, and then that's only half of it. And then I'm going to take it and I'm going to just rub, rotate get a dry part and then just rub it off. Now, and then just rub off the excess. This is also a great way. If you have journal pages that are sticking too much, you know how sometimes they stick? Doing the same thing will make your journal pages not sticky. So now I've got most of that off. It feels like it. And just kind of rub it off the excess. And now I'll show you, you'll see a big difference when I put it, if I put my hands over it, you can see how translucent that is compared to this side. So I've got a nice see-through glassine looking, very translucent paper. Now I haven't put wax on this side, so I'm going to be able to glue. It won't have a problem accepting glue because there's only wax on the top. So you don't want to wax both sides, because then you may have issues with glue not accepting, with it resisting. But there, so now you can see, I just think that's going to be so much fun. Here, I'll show you some of the examples of stuff I was working on today. I wanted to show you on a dark piece of paper how that looks here. See how, so, you know, this will disappear on whatever's behind it. So let's say here, like on this, you can see that is, so whatever's underneath, you're going to be able to see what's underneath more than on this side. So that's going to be fun. And we'll do this next week. So hang on to your pieces. Like I'll use this for next week's collage class. And we'll be using those. Another thing you do is, I'll just show these real quick. So what I did was with this one, I drew with a pen. I just kept sketching, and then this one I didn't spatter, but I used a pen to dot. This one you already saw, but it has red writing over it like that. And this one I think this one I'm gonna keep. I think this one with the spatters now, I think it's finally to where I like it. And you can always dab off, like I see there's a lot of, I can blot off that extra, there's any extra white ink that I'm trying to get rid of, I'll just blot that off. Yep, it's ready. This one I think is beautiful, and I'm going to show you though, put a little wax on that one too. I want you to see. I'll put some of the wax to see. I've never tried it on rice paper, so I wanted to see how, I really like the way that looks, but I want to see what happens if I put the wax onto the rice paper and how if it becomes translucent or not. We'll see. So there's, I'm just going to put wax on top, the top layer only. And it's kind of changing the color. It's not making it see-through yet, but it may. And I'm going to just do one side just to see. It's sort of softening it, which is nice. I'll do the whole thing. What the heck? I'll just do the whole thing. And then maybe it will become more see-through. I won't know until it, you know, I get it rubbed in. But yeah, it's going to see how it's starting to come through. So I need to just kind of give it a nice rubbing, you know, really rub it in there. And let that sit. But I like that. I love that. I think that worked out really pretty on the rice paper. And I'll just rub off the excess. And it makes it a little more translucent. I can kind of see through it a little bit. Nothing like the tissue paper, but it does do a nice. It does nice. It's nice. Something different. I like that. So that's. I can see through it much better. You can't. It's probably hard to see, but I can see the layers really well through the light. You know, with the light coming through. And I could do the same with this one. This one's some rice paper too. And I'm going to leave this one alone for now because it's all acrylic, so it's not going to go anywhere. I'll leave that one alone. This one has already had some, I believe it's been transparentized already. This one, maybe, I don't know what it's going to be like, but I'm going to try doing it with this and see what happens, the wax. Just curious on the black what it's going to do. So the black, what it's doing is it's deepening the black, and I don't know if it's making it see-through. Not really. So, but it deepens the black. So that's kind of a fun one too. Plus, it seals the paper. It makes it much stronger than when you started before, because that beeswax is going to seal the fibers and make it stronger, so that when you use it in collage, or if you're using it for something else. Plus, it also gives a beautiful shine. I mean, I really love the shine of this. So there it is. So this was using interference red and interference green over the black. There we go. So let's just give it some time, and then the beeswax, if you want to give, like, let it sit for a while and then buff it later, and, you know, buff it until you don't feel any waxy residue, and you are good to go. And I think these papers are going to be so much fun to use in next week's collage. Now this one's, I think I showed you this. This had, first layer was black, second layer was white stencil, and then I did some white lettering, and then I finalized it with some gold stencil. It looks like an animal print. But this, and I didn't do, I haven't put any bands. Let me put some wax on it, on the half of that, and see what that looks like. Thought that would be fun to try. See if it really looks. I think it's going to look beautiful with the wax on it because it's going to be so see-through. And I left enough white underneath. Let's see. I'm just doing the one side, so you'll be able to see the difference. You can always do the other side later. Okay, and I'm going to wipe off the excess with another towel. And then I'll look at it. We'll look at it under something dark or something patterned. There we are. Okay, let's see what it looks like. See how you can see that pattern? You barely see it on this side. On this side, I do. I think you can see that, how see-through it is. So it's going to be so much fun creating layers with papers, and it'd be like, wow, crazy. Like you can see that purple underneath. If I do it with this one, I'll be able to see the blues and the lettering underneath. Yeah, so there it is. And microglaze, I'm reading this. Yay, thank you. So I'm going to mention, because this was, I know that Beth is very kindly writing some neat things, information. These are the three different kinds of, this is cold wax medium, door lens wax medium. These are, this one actually has resin. This is made with, it's made for oil paintings, but it's made with natural beeswax and Gamsol, which is a solvent. The Gamsol is like, it works as an oil, so it's for oil painting, so it dissolves oils. So, but this stuff is great over acrylics and over, things that aren't soluble, like don't dissolve in oil, like they wouldn't dissolve in oil. Like an oil pastel, this would just smear it. But any, wax-based or water-based, it's going to hold up really well. It's going to make it permanent. This is actually a beautiful sealant for, these both are. So both of these have resin in it. So they're meant for using with, like this says it's meant for powdered pigments, colored sands, dyes, and other compatible fine art materials. Excellent for encaustic painting, hot or cold wax painting, mixed media. So these are great. They're art supplies. They're going to cost a little bit more. Microglaze is fantastic because you can use it with your fingers. It's got it's basically paraffin wax and some oils. There's no resin in it. This here is just beeswax and oil. I believe it's beeswax, carnauba wax, and olive oil. So these are like, you can, put this in your hair, I guess. I don't think, maybe not, but it's not only good for your wood, it's good for your papers. And it's going to just make them more permanent and seals them, and it makes them really fun to work with. So see how nice it looks on the other side. So it can be used on both sides. But keep it, if you're sealing it on one side and you intend to use glue on the other, don't put the wax on the other side, because I don't know how glue is going to work with that. So we've got these really fun papers. I hope you make lots of them today.